the outcomes for the employee are, engagement and happiness and productivity and quality and loyalty and creativity and innovation. That all bleeds over into customer outcomes, right? Because then the customer has a better experience. They feel like they are valued. They are able to achieve the jobs that they're trying to do and solve their problems. And then ultimately that leads to business outcomes, right? Whether that's employer branding, talent branding, growth and revenue and profitability and all those things.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Annette Franz today to our interview series. I'm Sumita Mariam from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest. Annette Franz is the founder and CEO of CX Journey Inc. and the co-founder and the co-host of the Xperia Summit. With over 25 years of experience, she helps organizations understand their employees and customers and provide a better experience for them. She is a contributing author to Forbes, Quality Digest, Business to Community, and a lot more. She's also a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. We are very happy to have someone of her stature on our interview series today. Welcome, Annette. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. Any chance that I get to talk about the work that I do and how important it is to brands around the world, it's a pleasure. So thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you. So moving on to the first question that we have for you, Annette. Can you tell us a little bit about your interesting work with CX Journey Inc.? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yes, it's been quite the journey. I started in this customer experience space about 28 years ago, almost 30 years in this space, right? I started with J.D. Power and Associates, and people often ask me, how did I get into this career path? And I don't have a special story for that. So it's really, I loved math, I loved writing, and I saw an ad in the newspaper for J.D. Power and Associates, and I was like, you know what, market research, that takes both of those into account, and I can use that. And I loved it. It was really about working with brands to help them improve. At the time, we really focused on customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. This customer experience term didn't come around for a few years yet after that. But I spent a lot of my time over the last 28 years, both on the client side and on the vendor side. Client side, I was with Mattel and Fidelity, and on the vendor side, I was with several of the larger voice of the customer platforms running their consulting services organizations. About 3 years ago, I decided that it was time to go out on my own to work on the kinds of projects and do the kinds of things that I love to do. And it's been, the best decision ever. And so, I always say I have 3 streams of income. I have, the content work that I do, the speaking, and the coaching / consulting, and working with my clients really on soup to nuts customer experience strategy. It's working with folks who are either new to a chief customer officer role or who are new to the field, and really helping them, and even some who are experienced, even those folks need help refreshing what is the latest and greatest thinking in this space. And so that's a lot of the work that I'm doing right now, and I love it. I've really enjoyed the career trajectory and the journey that I've had. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a wonderful answer. And, moving on to the next question, can you give us some insights on how an employee-centric culture will lead to a better customer service experience for an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I like to refer to it as, I talk about customer-centric, I talk about employee-centric, and ultimately it's, in the end, it's people-centric. It's putting the people first, putting the people before metrics, before profits, before products, really bringing their voice into everything that the business does. When we put our employees, I always say put them more first, right? And that comes from a book that was written by Hal Rosenbluth, where he said, the title of the book is The Customer Comes Second. And really his saying is the customer comes first, but the employee comes more first, And so if we put the employee first and we really take care of our employees, they will in turn take care of our customers. It's a pretty simple equation. There's a ton of research out there. And I'm going to look at my monitor here for a second and I can send you this graphic if you want to insert it into the video and share it with our listeners. But I'm working on a presentation right now, and it's a graphic that really shows the flow of exactly what you're asking me. What happens when we focus on the employees? What happens when we focus on our customers? And really the foundation of that, and again, I'm going to just look at the graphic second and just kind of walk you through it, right? The foundation of all of that is the culture. The culture has to be right. It has to be deliberately designed to put people first, right? That's such a huge piece of it. And then the other thing that we've got to make sure is that employees are taken care of. And that means a lot of different things, that's anywhere from truly caring about them as humans to coaching and feedback and letting them know how their work matters and appreciation, recognition, and so much more. But it's also about the tools and the resources and the policies and the processes and all of that stuff that they have to do their jobs. And when they do that, that leads to a great employee experience. So when you've got that foundation in place, that's the foundation of a great employee experience. And then that leads to employees feeling that there's purpose and they align with that purpose and they align with the organization. They feel like they belong, they feel valued, they're appreciated. And the outcomes for the employee are, engagement and happiness and productivity and quality and loyalty and creativity and innovation. That all bleeds over into customer outcomes, right? Because then the customer has a better experience. They feel like they are valued. They are able to achieve the jobs that they're trying to do and solve their problems. And then ultimately that leads to business outcomes, right? Whether that's employer branding, talent branding, growth and revenue and profitability and all those things. So again, if you want, I'll send you this graphic and you can share it with our listeners. It really just talks through that whole flow.
That's wonderful. That's a beautiful flow that you explained for us right there. And we also, we are seeing a lot of startups coming with, it's much easier for them to implement that employee-centric, the people-centric approach better because they're new. And
yes.
What, according to you, are the greatest challenges that startups are facing when it comes to establishing a good ground for customer relations?
Yeah, I love this question because I work with a lot of startups too. And it really is about getting this culture, this customer-centric, this people-centric culture ingrained from the start, right? I think Zappos is really the poster child for that, right? I think they have done it really well. I think so many times founders, startup founders are focused on the product and getting out there and the VCs and getting the money and all of that they have to remember that the people are at the middle of it, right? Why are you developing this product? I've had startup founders come to me and say, hey, Annette, we created a product. Now we have to find customers for this product. And it's really the other way around. You've got customers have a problem, solve the problem for the customer. And so I think that's a balance and a challenge that a lot of them are struggling with. And so I think it's really important that they put the people before the product and the problem before the product as well. What are you trying to solve? But then also establishing that culture from the get-go, right? Bringing that customer understanding, what are their pain points? What problems are they trying to solve? What jobs are they trying to do? All of that in from the start. And then it's easier to build on that as the organization grows. It's easier to scale when you start that from the very beginning of of the startup, of starting the business.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. And I totally agree with you on that one. I mean, the customers, the people and the problems has to be addressed first, and then you think of the product. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
what do you think are the challenges, that all organizations are facing to maintain their customer support, especially during this time of the pandemic? How would you like to address the main problems that all these organizations face?
Yeah, well, I would question you and right now in terms of what problems, right? Because it's such a long list. It's the volume of calls and the time and the wait time and the people working from home and, serving people with empathy and all that. I called my mortgage broker, my mortgage lender, last week. I had a question about my escrow account, and after waiting on hold and having emailed them twice prior to that and waiting 4 weeks for nobody to respond, I was like, all right, I'm on a call. And so I called and I've waited on hold for 30 minutes. Then the woman who answered said, well, I can't help you with that. I have to turn you over to an escrow specialist. And so then I got transferred. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I don't get dropped and how do I call them back? Am I going to really wait on hold again for 30 minutes? And the person that I ended up talking to, I could tell she was working from home. She was on a speakerphone. She sounded like she was miles away from the speakerphone. And I thought, oh, dear Lord, they haven't given her the tools to do her job, right? And so I think that's some of the challenges that the agents themselves are facing right now, is that they don't have the right tools to do the job. And if they do, they need to be trained on how to work from home. I think that's another thing. Yeah, we're all kind of casual. They were in our jammies or whatever. But you know what? We're still running businesses. We've still got to be productive, and we've still got to serve our customers. And so that was really interesting. I thought, wow, she's on a speakerphone, maybe even on her cell phone. Who knows? Have they not provided their employees with the right tools to be able to do the job that they need to do? So I think that's a big thing. In terms of solving for that, I think training and tools and communication are so key right now. Communication probably being one of the biggest ones, and not just for customers, but employees. Employees really need to know what's going on, and there needs to be open, transparent conversations. And again, like I said, if you're asking people to work from home, there needs to be a communication between, manager or supervisor and their staff, both ways, in terms of, hey, how are things going? What's going well? What's not going well? What do you need help with? Are you able to do your job and, still be able to do your job the way that you've been doing it? And I know there are challenges, but let's have those conversations. I think that's a really important piece.
Oh, that's a wonderful answer, and I completely agree with you on that one, because communication is the one thing that's getting really difficult right now, because people are in different homes, and your entire team is like, if you have 10 people, they're in 10 different cities, and communication is getting really hard, and leaders are like, I can't announce coming out of my cabin anymore. I have to call each one of you and tell you. And the employees are not used to it, the leaders are not used to it, and we are finding it so difficult to communicate and coordinate. And I think that's very important, and also to have the tools for it. I mean, technology plays a very big role in it, because we have Zoom right now, and being in different parts of the world, we are being able to communicate over Zoom. I can see you, and we're communicating like that. So how do you think technology plays a role in the inclusive workplace of the future?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's not going anywhere. It's going to become even more important, right? I mean, we see it today. What's happening today? Can you imagine? I saw a meme just yesterday, something like, can you imagine if this had happened in 2000 or 2000, early 2000s, right? When smartphones weren't around, when none of this technology was around, right? And it was a pretty funny meme, and it was like, that is so true. We would be in a world of hurt right now, and maybe necessity would have become the mother of invention. But I think that's what's happening right now too, is that we're learning a lot of things about the technology that we currently have that's not necessarily meeting the needs of the people today. And so it'll be really interesting to see where technology turns from here. But it's not going away. It's going to become more prevalent and more important. And the crazy thing is that there's research out there to show that the more technologically advanced we become, the more people crave that human interaction. So I think there's a huge balance between the two, and customer experience and employee experience are really, they're about the people, and they're about the feelings and the emotions and their perceptions. The technology really is a tool that facilitates and supports the experience and enhances it, but it's not the experience itself. We have to remember that it's about the people, right? It's all about the people.
Yeah, that is very interesting about this age and time. I mean, working from my kitchen counter, I feel comfortable because I have technology. So that is
Yes.
a wonderful concept that we have there. And moving to our next question, How do you think a talent brand is important for an organization, say a startup or a medium
Yep.
business?
So I think it's important for us to differentiate between what an employer brand is and what a talent brand is, right? Because they are two different things. So the employer brand is what the employer says it's like to work for your company, right? Whereas the talent brand is, about what the employees are doing, thinking, feeling, what they're sharing, and especially what they're sharing out to their networks and to their friends and everything. So the talent brand is what the employee is saying to their network. And I think it's more important than ever, and employees have, we talk about this with customers all the time, right? You used to be able to tell 10 friends if you had a bad experience, or you told your family and it was, 10 or 15 people, whatever it was. But now with social media and with, all the amplification out there, you can tell thousands and millions of people just with one post, right? And so it's even more important, right, to get the employee experience right, so that when your employees are out there talking about your brand, they're talking about the things that you want them to talk about. That it's a great brand, it's a great place to work. I love working here. They take care of their people, they take care of employees. We have what we need to do our job, that kind of thing. And so I think it's more important now than ever. I think that, especially and that's not going to go away. But I think during the crisis too, I think it's the way that companies handle the employee experience and how they handle the working from home and all that employees are out there sharing. We see pictures of Zoom meetings, all of that every day. And so I think it's really important that that you deliver a great employee experience, because it's only going to pay off in spades.
Yeah, but I just want to know, just out of curiosity, do you think that the way that organizations provide, experience to its employees, the employee engagement level that they have right now is going to change drastically once we come out of the pandemic?
That's a great question. And I do think that, again, it's the way that employers handle this, that is, and especially, I don't even want to say the employer, I want to say your manager. People say that people leave managers, people leave cultures, and it's true. It's so true. So the way that your manager handles it, again, going back to what I was saying earlier about having those two-way conversations, if you go to your manager and you say, hey, I'm not feeling, X, Y, or Z, or I don't have whatever tool I need, or I didn't hear about that, or what's going on, it's the way that your manager is going to respond to that, handle it, hear what you say, all of that, that's really going to make a difference going forward. And again, employee engagement is an outcome. It's sort of a confluence of two things happening, right? The employee caring and wanting to be a part of the brand, and the emotions and the feelings that the employee has about the brand. And then also the company's response, how the company is helping employees align with the purpose and feel like they matter, and all of those different things that together to have this great outcome, which is employee engagement, right? And delivering a great employee experience is certainly part of that, and the engagement is an outcome. So yeah, I know, I think that was a long-winded way of answering your question, but but I do think that right now the way that people handle the current situation is really going to impact outcomes going forward.
Yeah, I think one of the most, frequently asked questions once we come out of the pandemic by candidates are that how did you handle your employees while we were, having all these
Yeah.
uncertain times? So I think that's a brilliant
Yeah.
answer. Thank you for that. And
No, absolutely. There's a, and I just wrote about this in a blog post today. There's a quote from John Kennedy that says, "Fix the roof when the sun is shining." Right. So don't, when it's raining, it's too late. So you've got to have everything in place. You've got to have the culture. You've got to be already doing things. Like, your experience should not change in any way, shape, or form today. It should not be any harder to deliver that experience today than it was a year ago, right? Because you have everything set up to deliver day in and day out. Rain, snow, sunshine, pandemic, whatever, right? So that, I think that's important. I think that's really important.
yeah, and we're also like moving to a stage where people are, very very much thinking about their financial security. And also, like with the increase in the millennial workforce, the gig economy is gaining momentum, and we have gig workers for all sorts of jobs. And with the current financial insecurity and crisis, do you think it is here to stay?
Actually, I do. I do think it's here to stay. I know it's challenging for everybody right now, not just the gig folks, but everybody right now. I don't think that's going away. As a matter of fact, in some cases, they've been lifesavers for us, right? You know, it's the folks who are delivering with DoorDash and Postmates and Instacart and all those folks. You know, Uber drivers. You know, if they're, I know they're not as busy as they were, but they're still critical to the economy today, and I don't think that's going away. I actually think it'll continue stronger. We're all going to come back stronger than ever. It's going to take time, but yeah, I don't think the gig economy is going away at all.
Yeah, I love how you stay positive throughout all your answers, and thank you so much for that.
Absolutely, that's just who I am. I mean, again, it's who I am. I stay positive, and I'd like to, I like to smile and be happy. But yeah, that's the way to be, is to think positively and, just carry that throughout your day. It helps.
Yeah, you have a lovely smile.
Thank you.
And to wrap up the interview, I would like to ask one last question. If you have any
Oh, sure.
important sound bites that you would like to leave our audience.
I think number one is focus on the people, the numbers will come. Customer understanding, really the cornerstone of customer centricity. We have to take the time, and we talked about this already. It's about taking the time to really know your customers, who they are, what their pain points are, problems to solve, jobs to be done, taking that understanding and bringing it into the organization, and everything that you do has to be wrapped around that so that you can deliver value to your customers and to your employees. I wrote a book called Customer Understanding, just published last fall, and went into great detail about why customer understanding is the cornerstone of customer centricity, and how to achieve that. So I think that's an important thing, little soundbite there. So thank you so much for having me. I love this. This is great. I enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, I love this conversation too. It is truly an enriching experience to listen to all of these concepts from an experienced professional
Oh,
herself. It's not like reading a book.
thank
It's like, a one-on-one experience, and it's been an enriching experience for me, and I'm sure our audience is going to gain a lot of knowledge from this particular one. Thank you for
you.
smiling and for all the positivity and for all the ideas. Have a healthy and safe
Thank
time ahead of you.
you. You too. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.